おっす。そっちも補習帰りか？ビリビリ。おっす。そっちも補習帰りか？ビリビリ。おっす。そっちも補習帰りか？ビリビリ。おっす。そっちも補習帰りか？ビリビリ。
Well, hello. As I'm sure you all already undoubtedly know, this new stage of Overwatch League has finally solidified the end of GOATs. But it has also done something entirely new. Unprecedented even. It spawned a completely different brand in the realm of professional esports, and I want to take a moment to talk about why that is. More specifically, I want to talk about why the Hangzhou Spark are garbed in pink and baby blue instead of black, white, and spiky all over. That's right, we'll be analyzing what makes Railgun S so great that it stands head and shoulders above the rest of the certain series. Now, as I don't want to be totally negative to an anime I've invested a shameful amount of time digesting, our focus is going to relegate primarily towards Railgun S and up only until episode 16. Why episode 16? Because that's where it ends. Trust me, don't ask, that's just where it ends, alright? So close. Anyway, for those of you who don't already know, I'm going to give you the skinny, alright? The show is set in Academy City, a haven of science and study where the majority of the populace are all students, power-wielding espers, or both. There are some people who don't attend school, but to do that is to drop out of society in general, so it's heavily looked down upon. There are some people who don't have any powers, and in a weird twist of fate, actually feel outcast. But the struggles of Kawaii Deku aren't really the focus of the show. Instead, the show focuses primarily on the development of Misaka Mikoto, Academy City's third most powerful esper, and her struggle to accept the help of others. A stubborn struggle that drags her down into the underbelly of Academy City and forces her into more of a certain divine comedy. Misaka, at this point, has been established as the ace up her cast of character sleeves when it comes to sheer power, being that she can wield electricity in almost any way inhumanly possible. From simply shocking people like Pikachu to using sand as a razor, all the way up to her ultimate technique and the show's title, agitating an object with electrons so strongly that it forces Mother Nature to yeet that shit like a missile, the railgun. However, rumors have been floating around that there's another copy of her somewhere in the city. Major conspiracy theorists even say that there's a whole army of Misakas at this point, and they're part of this sinister experiment to make the world's strongest weapon. Thank God that's just a rumor though, right? Well, as it turns out, the rumors were true. Initially freaked out at first, Misaka bonds with her newfound sister and even gives her one of the prized collectibles that Misaka S shamefully accepts. Being that the original Misaka is an electromancer, the clones share a collective experience through brainwaves, yet are still a series of individuals who maintain their own quirks. They tend to like kittens, wordplay, and grieve when they have strife with their sister, even though it's not initially apparent to them why. Unfortunately, this is where our cute, cuddly, light-action anime takes a horrific turn. In walks the main baddie, Accelerator. Despite his smooth-as-silk personality and being best boy, he is utterly terrifying. As it turns out, Misaka didn't read the fine line when she was 5 and gave a bunch of scientists the permission to use her genetic code to break international law, as all powerful states do, and devise a plan so evil that you would only think an unfeeling Orwellian supercomputer could think of it. They're force-feeding these synthetic human beings to the most powerful Esper in an attempt to achieve what they call a level 6 shift, an unprecedented level of power, and for some reason, Misaka took exception to this, and spends the rest of the show trying to right her past against a force entirely out of her control. And when I say force, I'm speaking literally. Accelerator can control any vector upon contact. And if you were sitting there picking powers in the elementary school playground to fight against your friends, this at first seems kind of meh. But when you consider that vectors are the motions controlling any occurrence in the universe, you get a person who is not only untouchable, but also unmatched in power and versatility. Misaka, or anyone for that matter, is completely helpless to stop Accelerator directly. He represents those ugly burdens in life that are too complicated to solve no matter how you improve yourself or what you try to do to fight it. But Misaka's desperate. She tries every option she could think of. Take him head on? Fail. Burn all the facilities involved with the experiment? Fail. Destroy the supercomputer that can predict the molecular movement of the atmosphere? Well, kind of a fail. Ultimately, it's not solely Accelerator that's the enemy here, but rather the entire city. The entire structure of society that she's a part of is her adversary. So she does the one thing she can think of. She decides to feed herself to Accelerator in an attempt to level him up faster and spare the lives of possibly thousands of sisters. Luckily, Toma here, the protagonist, is here to punch him in the schnoz.
I'ma deck you in the schnoz.
But we'll get to that later. I know on the surface this sounds kind of like your typical shonen anime, instead from the damsel's perspective, and in many ways it is. But its unique take on these worn down tropes is what makes it so entertaining. A certain series has always had a flair for highlighting unique abilities and relating them to scholastic studies, but where Railgun S really shines is its pacing. I know I complained earlier about the 16 episodes being the only relevant part to the story, but for 16 episodes we get to really feel the atmosphere of Academy City with an emotional investment you don't get in Index. With the source material being so scarce to begin with, I think JC's staff did a fantastic job keeping the show interesting for as long as they did. Toma is the infallible protagonist, and as such, he doesn't really grow any in the show. I like Toma as a character, but he's often used as a self-insert for the audience and never really actively participates in the plot until the plot needs him to save the day. Misaka, on the other hand, actually has a need, a desire from the start of the show, and as simple as that sounds, it makes a difference when the credits finally roll. There's payoff. From the very beginning episodes, Misaka tries, and often succeeds, to shoulder her responsibility like a typical Marvel character. The show does things like reference Spider-Man, yet not in a position of agreement with the character like Spider-Man's ideals. Into a certain Spider-Verse, if you will. Instead, it says, hey, yeah, all these powers are great and all, but you're just one person. And even the mighty can't stand atop alone forever against everyone. You need people. You need allies. You need to be punched in the schnoz. A sentiment that Index only later remembers as fan service to tease Railgun fans. Misaka is riddled with guilt and perceives herself as the sole one responsible with all the blood on her hands. She can't bear to tell anybody anything about what she's going through. She'd rather die than face her friends with this amount of pain. She fully expects everyone to hate her for what she's caused, when in reality, she just needed a little help from someone kind enough to be there for her. I'm sure you all can relate to this level of misunderstanding. Combine this human experience with a stellar OST, the best laugh track in all of ever, and some Fate series-esque battle scenes, and you get a show so inspirational that someone names their online business after it, and then goes on to buy a professional team draped in pink with a finger gun as their logo. I made the mistake of thinking that the rest of Index was going to learn from this level of success, but I watched those 300 episodes, so you don't have to. Yes, it does improve in some areas, but no one in Index really ever gets as grounded as Misaka's character. Index's biggest problem, amongst its many other flaws, is that it keeps widening while never digging an inch past the surface until it's this puddle-sized hole of an ocean. And by the way, there's a world war going on as a side story. Oh my god, Holy Armageddon is going down right now. So Accelerator might be a divine being. Well, what the actual fuck is happening? It's exhausting. However, with the Accelerator spin-off shaping up to be one of the best animes this season, now is a great time to give this little gem a chance if you haven't already. Or just keep playing Overwatch because 222 is awesome, and if I wasn't so into Apex, I would definitely be balls deep in this right now. Well, anyway, that wraps it up for me. Go ahead and follow me on DLive for all your gaming goodness. Subscribe to the channel for more videos of varying quality and variety, we'll say that much. And go check out the Sounds of Music Collective Facebook and SoundCloud pages for the next time we perform. Until next time, later.